For today's podcast, we're going to discuss the Network Readiness Index, or NRI for short. Ahmed, for the benefit of our listeners who are in the dark about the NRI, can you please give us a short overview?
Well, Ajmal, the NRI is a score given to countries based on how well they're using information communication technologies in order to improve the quality of life for its citizens, as well as give countries an edge over others. The NRI is ranked out of 7 and is based on 3 main factors: environment, readiness, and usage. And the NRI was introduced by the World Economic Forum.
Okay, so this score is given based on the 3 factors that you mentioned, but for the sake of our listeners, could you tell us how these factors are weighted? Surely some factors must influence a country's rank more than other factors.
Well, the NRI uses a simple average of the 3 scores out of 7. In other words, each factor carries that same weighting.
Exactly. The first thing that springs to my mind is that a simple average may not give countries and investors a true picture of a country. I mean, a country could score a high mark in one area and then score lower in the other two, but because of the high mark, it inflates its rankings and may mislead people. What's your take on this? I mean, I'd rather use other means to figure out if a country is worth investing in or not.
Right, so the thing about NRI is that each of the 3 main factors have their own factors as well. For example, political and social environment both fall under the broader category readiness. Now, you may be right in saying that using an average of the 3 factors might be slightly inaccurate, but others have tried to come up with other ranking systems but to no avail. As it stands, the NRI is the snapshot of where a country is in terms of its use of ICT. It might not have pinpoint accuracy, but it's definitely the best way to see where a country is from a technology standpoint as well as its potential.
I see. Thank you for clearing that up. Now let's look at South Africa. Currently we rank 65 this year. That's up 10 places from last year. Why has there been such a dramatic change in the rankings in just 1 year? I mean, such a sharp rise is bound to make people wonder if such a ranking system is reliable.
As we know, technology is constantly improving and changing, so the NRI can be expected to increase if countries keep up with technology trends. And the NRI can also decrease if countries fail to keep up with other countries. South Africa's jump in the rankings was a result of the private sector driving our ICT adoption rate. With foreign and local investors encouraging the use of ICT to improve their businesses, it's a given that our ranking improved. South Africa simply grew faster than the other countries that follow us in the rankings table.
Okay, so let's wind this down with the final question. Would you invest in South Africa based on its NRI ranking?
As we can see from the NRI ranking, South Africa has improved by 10 places in just 1 year. It is evident that South Africa is making an effort to improve ICT quality in the country. Improvements are being made to infrastructure, therefore South Africa's rank is expected to improve even more by next year. I see a bright future for South Africa from a technological perspective. As for costs, though cost of technology is currently high in South Africa, it is believed that these costs will decrease over time. Currently, there is an ongoing campaign asking for a decrease in data charges. South Africa has just introduced fiber internet connection, which is much more reliable than what we are currently using. Improvements are gradually being made in the ICT sector to ensure more reliable internet connection. These improvements will have a positive effect on South Africa's NRI rank, which is expected to improve even more by next year. So yes, I would invest in South Africa.
For 2016, the main driving factor for a high NRI score was investment by the private sector, and as we know, investors are fickle. A negative change in our current environment might make them disinvest in our country, and as pointed out by Naledi Pandor, our Minister of Science and Technology, the government isn't spending enough money on the technology and science field. The science and tech budget for the year 2016-2017 is the same amount that was allocated last year. How are we expected to improve our NRI rank if the government itself doesn't get on board? So while we may have jumped 10 places in the NRI this year, if we become complacent and if we do nothing to improve, our ranking is set to decline as other countries that are quicker to act will eventually overtake us. You mentioned fiber access. The truth of the matter is that while some urbanized parts of South Africa have access to fiber, some municipalities in rural South Africa still run on dial-up internet. ICT isn't being given enough attention in order for our country to progress. For me, I certainly wouldn't consider investing in South Africa based purely on the NRI.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you for watching this video.
Be sure to comment on your views on the NRI and investing.